Imagine you're out at sea. The sun is beginning to set, and the ocean stretches endlessly in every direction. Then, in the distance, you spot a yacht. At first, nothing seems unusual, but as you get closer, something feels wrong. The sails are raised. The engine is running. Food sits untouched on the table. A laptop glows inside the cabin. Everything appears completely normal, except for one terrifying detail. There isn't a single person on board. No captain, no crew, no sign of anyone at all. This is the true story of the Kaz II, one of the strangest maritime mysteries of the 21st century. It all began in April of 2007. 3 experienced sailors set out on what should have been a peaceful journey along the coast of Australia. Their names were Derek Batten, Peter Tunstead, and Peter's brother, James Tunstead. They weren't thrill seekers chasing danger. They weren't inexperienced tourists. These were men who knew the ocean well. They had spent years sailing and understood the risks that came with life at sea. Their vessel was a modern 12-meter catamaran called the Kaz II. The yacht was well equipped. It carried navigation systems, communication equipment, emergency gear, and enough supplies for the trip ahead. On April 15th, they departed from Airlie Beach in Queensland. Their destination was Western Australia, thousands of kilometers away across some of the most beautiful waters on Earth.
For the first few days, everything seemed normal. The men continued their voyage without any known problems. Family members received updates. There were no signs of danger, no warnings, no distress calls, nothing that suggested anything was about to go wrong. But then, 3 days later, everything changed. On April 18th, another vessel spotted the Kaz II drifting off the Australian coast. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary yacht, but something seemed strange. The boat wasn't behaving normally, and more importantly, no one could be seen on deck. Radio calls were made. No answer. More calls followed. Still nothing. At first, nobody panicked. Perhaps the sailors were below deck. Maybe they were resting. Maybe they simply hadn't heard the radio. But as time passed, concern began to grow. Authorities were notified. Soon, a rescue helicopter was dispatched to investigate. As it circled above the vessel, the crew noticed something unsettling. The yacht was still moving, yet nobody appeared to be controlling it. The helicopter crew could not see a single person aboard. A rescue team was sent to board the Kaz II. What they found would transform a routine investigation into an international mystery.
The engine was still running. One of the sails remained partially deployed. The GPS navigation system was functioning normally. Food had been laid out on the table. A laptop computer remained switched on. Inside the yacht, clothing and personal belongings were exactly where they should have been. Wallets remained untouched. The men's passports were still on board. Most surprisingly of all, their life jackets had not been taken. And yet, the 3 sailors were gone. There was no sign of violence, no blood, no damage, no evidence of a struggle, no indication that pirates had boarded the vessel, no clues suggesting criminals had been involved. It was as though the men had simply vanished into thin air. Investigators immediately launched a massive search operation. Aircraft swept across the ocean.
Rescue boats searched the surrounding waters. Thousands of square kilometers were examined. Days passed, then weeks, but the search produced nothing. No bodies, no wreckage, no personal items floating in the sea. Not a single piece of evidence. Even more puzzling was the fact that no distress signal had ever been sent. The Kaz II was equipped with emergency communication systems. The crew knew how to use them. Experienced sailors understand that every second matters during an emergency. So why didn't anyone call for help? Why wasn't an emergency beacon activated? Why did nobody send a distress message?
Investigators struggled to answer those questions. Eventually, they developed a theory. Perhaps one of the sailors had fallen overboard while adjusting equipment. The second may have jumped in to save him. The third may have followed in an attempt to rescue both men. Meanwhile, with nobody left aboard, the yacht simply continued drifting away. On paper, the explanation seemed possible, but many people weren't convinced. These were experienced sailors. Would all three really abandon a perfectly functioning vessel? If someone had fallen into the water, why wasn't a distress signal sent first? Why was food still sitting on the table? Why did it look as though normal activities had been interrupted in an instant? Those questions remain unanswered. And nearly 20 years later, the sea is still keeping its secret. No one knows exactly what happened aboard the Kaz II. No bodies were ever found. No distress signal was ever sent. And no new evidence has ever emerged. So what do you think happened? Was it simply a tragic accident? Or is there something about this mystery that investigators never discovered? Let me know your theory in the comments. And if you enjoy unsolved mysteries like this one, subscribe for more stories that still have no answers.